So thank you for coming, first of all, because I know there are lots of other places where you could be at any time. And it's chilly outside, and it's a Monday night, and on and on and on and on and on. But what it says to me is that you are concerned about your health. And that's why I'm here, because I'm concerned about your health too. It's really alarming. It's actually alarming. I'm going to say that again. It's alarming. If you look at the first page of the statistics in my book, in terms of our rates of hypertension and obesity and cardiovascular disease, it's alarming. It's gotten worse since I started practicing. I had the intention and the mission for it to get better. Now, I would venture to say that many of my patients are certainly better, but generally speaking, as a group, African American women are not better. We're worse. And that's why, that's what prompted me to write this book. So we're disproportionately recognized in every single major illness. Name one, every one. We are disproportionately represented. Every single illness. Certainly hypertension. And what's alarming about that is that over 50% of all African American women who are over 20 are hypertensive. That's incredible. That's incredible, and it's sad. It's very, very sad. So the first thing I want you to do is to write down what you had for breakfast. Write down what you had for breakfast, everybody. Because I'm going to collect you, so tell the truth. Write down what you had for breakfast. Find a little piece of paper in your pocketbooks. Now, those of you who are my patients, if you didn't eat well, don't write it down. This is only for those of you who are not my patients. I'm just kidding. Everybody has to write it down. And if you want to go back to dinner time, you can do that too. So, one of the things that, or the other thing that prompted me, can you all still hear me? Okay. The other thing that also prompted me is that we don't get cancer more than our non-melanotic brothers and sisters, but we die more from it. Listen to what I said. We don't get cancer more, but we die more from it. That's a problem. That's a problem. That doesn't mean that we are necessarily sicker. It means that we're not taking care of what we have. We're giving from a lack, not an overflow. You can't give from a lack. You have to give from an abundance. There is a cycle of giving and receiving, but you have to be part of the cycle and have that abundance in order to give out freely. So I'm also aware that only 35%, for example, in that cancer statistic, only 35% of lesbian and bisexual women have had mammograms in the past 2 years, compared to 60% of white lesbians. Again, we are not taking care of ourselves. We are leaving our health care up to someone who I'm not sure really cares about your health care. But we'll talk about that a little later. We also have a higher rate of HPV. How many people know what HPV is? Great, not all of you. And I know that because you come into my office and say, I have HPV, what is that? You should have asked the person who told you you had it. Amen. You don't ask me. I'm the secondary person, typically, but ask the person who told you you had it. Well, I didn't want to ask them because they didn't have any time. No. This is your health. It's not his or her health. It's your health. You ask the questions that you need to ask. You get the answers that you need to get. You don't leave there without them. If you have to sit and wait or make the next person wait, then that's just the way it is because you are important. You are your greatest asset. Amen. And that's what this book is all about. It's about you. It's about you loving yourself enough to take better care of yourself so that we don't have these kinds of statistics. So it's alarming. It's alarming that we get so much HPV. HPV is called human papillomavirus. And HPV was one of the main reasons why we get cervical cancer, okay? So you don't want to have a diagnosis of HPV. And you don't want to just have it and then say, yeah, I'm going to take some medicine for it, and then go back and make love to the same person you were making love to before. No, don't do that. And have another UTI and another UTI. You are responsible for your health. No one else is responsible for your health. No one at all. And I'm not judging if you choose to do that. I'm just saying that's not a particularly effective way to live your life. Living your life means that. Live your life. Be grateful for the grace that's extended to you every single day.
Amen.
And focus on the fact that you have some control over it. Yes, we are products of our upbringing. And I'm going to talk about that. We are products of all of that. But we're also products of our choices. We're also products of our choices. Every choice, every moment. Every choice, every moment. We all have choice in every moment. And that is a fact. That's a true fact, as they say. So you want to be sure that you're making the right choices in every moment. Now, will you make them in every moment? Perhaps not. But you can certainly make them in many moments if you have the right information. And that's why I'm here, to give you the right information. So what's even more alarming is that 54% of African American women over 20 are obese. That goes in hand with hypertension. So we have to be mindful of what we put in our mouths. And we're going to talk about that as well. So this obesity, the cancer, she's telling me to use the mic, the obesity, the cancer rate, the cardiovascular diseases, all of those diseases are situations that are not exotic. They're not from pago. These are lifestyle diseases. These are things that can be controlled by using what God gave you, which is your mind, using the ways in which you can control yourself. It doesn't mean that you're not going to, have a great holiday and you're going to have that piece of chocolate cake, but just have one piece. Don't have two pieces. Just push back a little bit, or stop eating the things that you can't even read the ingredients of. I mean, let's face it, you might as well be eating the plastic as opposed to what's in the prepared foods and what's in the processed foods, because there's nothing in them that's good for you. So, I need to put this down again. So, I want to be clear about what's going on. How did we get here? How did we get in this space of all these statistics and being obese and being all of these things that we have an opportunity to change? So one of the things I say in the book is something called weathering. I have a PhD in sociology also, which I got before I was a naturopath. So sociology is very important to me because it's the study of people. So now I'm kind of doing the study of medicine, if you will, and people, and especially African American people. So one of the things I know about this thing called weathering, and I'm going to read some of it to you. It's a term that was started by a professor at the University of Michigan called, her name was Geronimus. But I want to read what weathering is in the dictionary, because that's what's important. Weathering is the process by which natural agents, as wind and water, act upon exposed rock, causing it to disintegrate to sand and soil, wear away or change the appearance or texture of something by long exposure to the air. Withstand difficulty or danger, the practices of wearing or being worn by long exposures to the atmosphere. In this case, I'm writing, the atmosphere, the wind, the water, and natural agents, though not limited to the following, are marginalization, societal, health, and social injustice, the delayed response to the winds and water of Katrina, for example, or the Flint, Michigan crisis, the generational economic disparities, growing worse during COVID, and then there are jobs that can't be remote. They just can't be. You can't remotely change a sheet in a hotel. You can't remotely go to your place on the food line. You can't remotely drive a cab. And then, of course, all of the lacking internet sources for our African American children. So these things are called weathering. These things wear us down and reduce us to soil and sand and dust. And then in my first book, A Path to Healing, A Guide to Wellness for Body, Mind, and Soul, I wrote about the dehumanizing experiences of slavery. Some of that's in this book too. So one of those things I say is the dehumanizing experiences we've endured for generations created a legacy of independence, strength, and self-determination. Our resilience enabled us
to survive socially and economically, our perseverance as well. We have learned how to protect ourselves, our families, and our communities. These adaptations have led us to become superwomen. But having and being a superwoman comes at great cost. African American women who have been vigilant, strong, resilient, and become in the face of tragedy have also suffered from disproportionate health disparities and a shortened life expectancy. Even Superman had his kryptonite. Some of you may remember who Superman is, some of you may not. But Superman was this great person who flew from buildings and jumped tall buildings, et cetera, et cetera. This was in my generation. But he had kryptonite. And kryptonite was the one thing that could bring him down. Well, we have these health disparities that can bring us down. We have the intersectionality of sexism and racism. And this is where Sojourner Truth comes in. Because the book is really speaking about her and her activities. Some of you may not even know who Sojourner Truth is. Hopefully you do. And if you don't, Black History Month is coming, so I'd encourage you to research her. She's just as important as Harriet Tubman. She did just as much as Harriet Tubman. She was a superwoman. Now, that caught up with her because she died of leg ulcers, which could have been prevented from diabetes. But she died at 86, and she had a wonderful life. She was one of the people, later life. Her early life was full of atrocities. Slavery. She sold 13 children almost into slavery. She had to marry a man that she didn't love from another plantation because the master wanted her to do that. She had one rape after another, and still, she was able to lead a people toward health and wellness. She was able to go to the sentiments, the Declaration of Sentiments in Seneca Falls, New York, and get herself situated such that she could give a speech about the inequality of women for women's rights. She, along with Frederick Douglass, he was there as well. And I would encourage you all, again, going back to Black History Month, to read her story and how she got there and what she presented to them. Because at that time, you may or may not know, women couldn't vote. Actually, black men could vote because they were men before women could vote. Now imagine that. Before women could vote. But, of course, they had poll tax and literacy tax, so black men couldn't vote anyway, but at least on paper, they were allowed to vote. But we couldn't vote. We couldn't hold any places on a jury. We couldn't work outside the home until 1970 if we were pregnant. We couldn't do anything. Our husbands had control over us. Our husbands could beat us, imprison us without impunity. Nothing would happen to them. We couldn't have any custody rights. We couldn't have any property rights. We couldn't have a passport if we were married. A single person could have a passport, but not a married woman. So think about that. So think about how far we've come and all the things we've had to endure in order to be here. So that intersectionality of racism and sexism has weathered us, has brought us down, has created these conditions, if you will, and this dis-ease. But again, they are not exotic. They are not diseases that cannot be turned around. They are diseases of lifestyle. Whether it's your thoughts, whether it's your behavior, whatever it is that. It is not just something that's from Pago, no, or something mysterious. These are things that we have some control over. So I encourage you first to make different choices. So I don't know what you put down on your sheet about breakfast. Anybody want to volunteer? Well, that's never a good sign. Go ahead.
Peanut butter and jelly.
On what kind of bread? Okay. What kind of bread? Whole wheat honey. Okay, I'd encourage you to read the wrapper when you go home. Go ahead. Nothing. That's a typical answer.
I had oranges.
Oranges?
One orange.
One orange. Okay. Miss Latney.
I had fruit.
Okay.
That's why I'm eating. I don't want to say kind of bad because it's vegetarian.
Okay. All right.
Most of the time it's
So
fruit.
we got an orange. We got nothing.
Bananas,
We got,
all of it.
Yes, yes.
I juiced some berries with turmeric, and then I had a banana and some green tea.
You had what?
I juiced some
Oh, you juiced.
berries
Okay.
with turmeric, and then I had a banana and then some green tea.
How long after the berries did you have the banana?
Oh, I kind of had them right after the banana, right,
Right
after.
after. Did you have any digestive problems?
No, I
No
didn't.
gas, no bloating?
But I do take a probiotic.
Okay.
So,
Because mixing bananas, which is a sweet fruit, with berries, which is an acid fruit, can create problems. But we'll get to that. And you had your hand up.
I had oatmeal, just nuts, raisins, and blueberries.
Okay, oatmeal. All right. That's 1 out of 50 people. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So the point is that most of us don't eat well. We're moving too quickly. We don't know what to eat. We don't know how to eat. We don't know what's good for us, what's not good for us. We may know what's good for us, but we don't choose to do it. So ask yourself, what is that about? What I have patients who've come to me in the past, it's in my book, who have Oreos for breakfast. After 38 years, you can imagine my dismay. So I'm missing something because this person didn't get that they should not be having Oreos for breakfast with whole milk. So we'll talk about that too. But most recently, there are lots of things in my book about additives, etc. But most recently, there was an article in Consumer Reports about something called bisphenols. Anybody know what that is? Say that again. Very good. Ding, 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 ding. You got a star. All right. Plus you had oatmeal. I heard you answer that. All right. Okay, I like it. Are you going to be a naturopath?
I've been wanting to do that.
Well, listen. Don't talk to me then, because you're going to do it once I finish talking to you. So bisphenols, or BPAs as they're called, are found in foods that produce plastic. And they're called plasticizers. But they're also in food. They do what they're supposed to do in plastic, but they're in foods. Like Yoplait. How many of you have eaten Yoplait? Raise your hands, come on, because I know you're out there. Yeah. Yoplait has plasticizers in it. So when you think about Yoplait, especially the French vanilla one, be sure to recognize that what you're eating. I'm just trying to bring up your consciousness here so that you understand that these are choices that you don't have to make. You can make other choices. So, and then those plasticizers, though, the biggest thing about them is that they are endocrine disruptive products. The endocrine system, some of you may know what that is, some of you may not, but let me just make it brief. The endocrine system is what your thyroid is part of. And I don't know about you, but I've seen so many women in the past 10 years that had thyroid problems. Almost every third woman has thyroid problems. And that's part of what the endocrine system is. The thyroid also affects your hormones, also affects your adrenal glands, which are 2 glands that sit on top of your kidneys and your back. And those glands, which we'll talk more about, are responsible for your blood pressure and blood sugar regulation. So you don't want to have plasticizers interfering with your regulation of the hormones that affect your blood pressure and your blood sugar. So again, I just want you to be conscious of these things. It affects your hypothalamus, which is in your head. It affects your adrenals, which I said, and your ovaries, your pituitary. It affects many, many, many organs. So you have to be aware of what you're putting in your system and read the labels. Read the labels. Now, what else are in plasticizers? Those good old Del Monte sliced peaches that come in those little plastic cups, right? Some of you, I'm sure, have had some of those. The chicken of the sea pink salmon in the cans. Chicken of the sea pink salmon. The Yoplait. Wendy's crispy chicken nuggets. Chipotle chicken burrito. Burger King Whopper with cheese. And even Annie's. You know, the Annie's organic, all blah, blah, blah product. And I'm not downing any of these products, I'm just giving you information. Annie's cheese ravioli has plasticizers in it. So just be aware, be aware. And then we have things like polyfluorinated bisphenols, and they affect the cardiovascular system. So we also, of course, we have the highest rates of cardiovascular disease, and that means strokes, hypertension, all of that. So again, you want to be mindful of what you're eating. It also affects a high risk for low birth weight babies. So our younger sisters, 20, who are having the hypertension, they need to be mindful of what they're eating too. Now, I recognize that some women cannot afford to eat better. I recognize that. And this book is not going to make them afford to eat better. What's going to make them afford to eat better is to think more. Maybe they can have 1 bushel of kale that's organic and not everything organic. Maybe they can buy fresh peaches as opposed to Del Monte peaches. Just 1 thing a week or 1 thing a month even. Baby steps. This book is about baby steps and what you can do to increase those baby steps. Health is not a sprint. Health is a marathon. It's long term. It's linear. It's not linear, rather. You're going to go up and down. You're going to go up and down. But eventually you're going to continue to go up and keep going up. And that's where we want to hit, to keep going up. You don't want to have these ups and downs. So the other thing that's in the book, I talk about, again, foods. Certain things like milk. Milk is for baby cows. Milk is not for us. We're the only animal that drinks milk from another animal. And why milk? Because there's so many cows. We could have zebra milk, or we could have some other kind of milk on cereal, but we don't. It's cow's milk, because we have been snowed by the dairy farmer. Not even cows go back to their mothers once their 4 stomachs are formed. They eat plants. They don't go back to their mothers. That'd be like us breastfeeding at 6 years old. That's not cool. So be aware of milk and what goes into it. What goes into milk, and there's A2 milk and all this kind of milk now, that milk comes from animal bones. That's all in the book. I want you to read it because you need to be educated about what you're doing. Your health is your responsibility. It's nobody else's responsibility but your own. The other thing that's in the book talks about water. How many of you drink enough water? Enough means half of your body weight in ounces. 3 people out of 50. Good, okay. So, and some people are going like this. So yes, water is important. What are the effects of dehydration? Anybody? Headache. What else? What? Fatigue. What else? Constipation. What else? Dizziness. High blood pressure. All of those are correct. Let's face it, you don't get a headache from a lack of aspirin. You don't get a headache from a lack of aspirin. You get a headache because you either haven't had enough water, you haven't had enough sleep, you're worried all the time, or all 3 of those things, but not because you have a lack of aspirin in your system. That's not why you get a headache. Because you haven't moved your bowels, because you've eaten things that don't agree with you, or that can't be digested properly because there's absolutely no fiber in it whatsoever. For example, with all due respect to you, I hear you had the wheat bread, and that's great, but wheat bread we know now is not particularly good, whole wheat bread. Multigrain bread, organic bread, things with texture, seeds, color, those things are good for you. But there's no fiber in peanut butter and jelly on wheat bread. None whatsoever. So that means you have nothing to begin with for your colon to start moving, because the colon is a muscle. It's a muscle. It has to be moved. It has to be exercised. The colon is a muscle for it to work, for it to get out what's in there that can create toxins, because once those toxins are in there, they can go anywhere in the body. The toxins can go anywhere, any organ, right there. So once you're storing toxins, that means you're storing weight also, and also the different pesticides that are in the foods, because the body doesn't know what to do with those, they also get stored as fat, and they get stored as toxins. So be aware of what it is that you're eating. So water is extremely important. It also lack of water also creates poor sleeping habits, poor concentration, poor memory, all of that. So if you're thinking, I'm losing my mind, you probably are, but you're also not drinking enough water. So just drink some water and stop saying you're losing your mind. Because what you say to yourself, you're going to speak into existence. So say, I'm keeping my mind, repeat after me. I'm keeping my mind and I'm drinking more water. Right, right. Because, whether it's negative self-talk, whether it's negative self-talk about somebody that just passed you by because you're gossiping or being ugly, all of that affects your health. All of that affects your health. Gossip affects your health. Negative self-talk affects your health. Negative talk about other people affects your health. It's all connected, as we are. We are all connected as well. So when you're casting that stone in the pond and you see that ripple, it's because it has an effect. And you have an effect on everything you say, do, or act on. You have an effect. Now, I know you don't think you're that powerful, but we are. We are. And so we need to recognize that power and move in a direction of being more positive toward ourselves and others. Another thing that's in the book is foods like sweets. And I'm sure since it's the holidays has ended now that you all had your fair share of sweets and you're just so happy and your A1C is probably 6.3, deflect on all that. But hopefully it's not, but it could be. So you need to get it checked right now, not right now, but maybe a month from now. A1C stands for A1C hemoglobin, which is a measure of your blood sugar over a 3-month period of time. So when you go into a doctor and they do your blood sugar, that's just your glucose at that moment in time. But your A1C is a recognition of your 3-month period of your blood sugar that is then averaged. So that's the most important reading, not the glucose. So when you get your blood work, be sure to get an A1C hemoglobin, not just a glucose. Many of you may know that, but I'm just letting you know. The other thing you want to get if you have a thyroid issue is you not only get the TSH, but you want to get the whole panel. So you want to get T3, T4, free T3, free T4. Because those things are what's going to tell you what's really going on, not just the TSH. Many of you, and I know this for a fact because I hear it all the time, many of you are afraid to talk to your doctors. Many of you are afraid to ask questions. And many of you allow them to leave a room after 5 or 6 minutes. That's unconscionable. If your doctor doesn't ask you about your bowel movements and nutrition, they're just drug pushers. I hate to say it like that, but it's true. And I'm sure they don't mean that. They don't mean to do that. But they don't get nutrition in school. There's only 3 schools that give nutrition classes, and it's only 1. We don't have a whole year like we do in that Catholic school, or 2 years in my case. We don't get that. Medical doctors do not get nutrition classes, so they don't know what to ask you. And then they want to dismiss you because they don't have time. So you need to ask the questions. Now, in the book also is information about what is the immune system. Because when it says, oh, your immune system is low, or when you hear this is, well, first of all, you never hear about COVID and immunity. All you hear is about COVID and drugs. But what keeps your immune system well is you. Your sleep, your foods, your water, your vitamin C, your vitamin D. Your immune system is there to protect you. That's what it's there for. It's comprised of your white blood cells, yes, but you have to be the one responsible for taking care of them and organizing them and making them work. So your immune system is really what needs to be top-notch, and that's your responsibility. Stress affects the immune system, creates inflammation that creates disease. Simple. That's what I say, it's simple. This is not complicated. Stress affects the immune system that creates inflammation, that creates disease. And our immune system begins in our gut. So if you're not eating, or if you're not eating properly, or if you're not doing what you need to be doing when we talk about defecation and moving your bowels, that's a problem, because your gut is suffering. If you have diverticulosis or diverticulitis or any other kind of itis or osis that begins in your gut, then you have a problem. You need to handle it, meaning eating better. You can't just go and say, I'm gonna have fried fish on every Friday. No, because that fried fish creates problems for which you need antioxidants, because it sets off a cascade of things that can then create cancer. So we don't want to do that. You want to be mindful of what it is that you're eating. So I need to say also that we don't want to get into a situation where, you feel like, oh my God, I can't eat anything. No, just little by little, you take things out of your diet, or little by little, you put things in your diet that you know are good for you. Little by little, you read. You have to make the choice. Because where else are you going to live within your body for the rest of your life? Nowhere. So you have to make the choice to do something differently. Make different choices. Choose wisely. Do the things that you know to do that equal self-love and self-care. Self-love equals self-care. Self-care equals self-love. It's a cycle. Self-care equals self-love. Self-love equals self-care. I can't say that enough. And unfortunately, because of what we've gone through as African American women, we don't have enough self-care or self-love, in my humble opinion. Now, we're all going to be superwomen at some point. If you live long enough, and if your mothers live long enough, and if you have good relationships with them. I certainly was. My mother lived to 100, and it was great. And every night when I left my practice, I went to see her, because at some point it wasn't safe to keep her at home. So I went to see her, and I would get home at 9 o'clock, and I would be eating dinner at 9:30 or 10, and going to bed. But I would always exercise on Mondays and Wednesday mornings and the weekends. So I got something in. So I'm just saying, even if you're a superwoman, there's one or two things that you can do to create a difference in your life that will allow you to feel like, I'm doing something about this. Yes, I have this responsibility. Yes, I have this obligation. And I want to do it. And I also want to be responsible for myself. So that when it comes time for me to be the age that I'm about to be, January 29th, I don't look it. I know I don't. So go ahead, say how old are you? 75. So, and I know because I started early. I started this when I first got my PhD, and I was just miserable in that profession, and I said, I look terrible. I was 30 years old with a face full of acne and overweight. And I thought, what am I going to look like when I'm 70? Well, now I know. I look better than I did when I was 29. Because it's cumulative. It's cumulative. And you can start anywhere. Jesus started in a manger. But I'm not a Jesus freak, but you know what I'm saying. Jesus started in a manger. So you can start anywhere. It doesn't matter. But start. Do something. And do it quickly. Because your health is your greatest asset. You are your greatest asset. I can't say that enough. You've got to do more. So, sweets, sucanat, monk fruit, stevia, coconut sugar. These are all sugars that you can use instead of white sugar. There's a detox diet in the book. No white sugar, no white rice, no white flour, no preservatives. You try that for 10 days and you will feel better, I guarantee it. You read this book and do the thing, even half of the things in this book, I guarantee you will feel better. And you have to be consistent. As resilient and consistent as our ancestors were, we have to do the same thing. Those labels of superwomen, that was because we were resilient. That's because we were tired of being called Aunt Your Mama. We were tired of being called all these other names. So we decided to have some choices. Well, call me superwoman then. Yeah, we are superwomen. But we have to take care of ourselves as superwomen, not everybody else. I have patients who say, well, I just couldn't do that because I had to take care of my so-and-so and so-and-so, and then I had to go do this for so-and-so and so-and-so. Say no. I mean, years ago, I think it was Oprah who said it's a sentence. It is. It's a sentence. Say no. And it's not No, because see, I have to, no, just no. And it takes practice, but you have to do it. You have to do it. Now, you can say, I can't do this on this day because I have my exercise class, but I can do it on Thursday at 3 o'clock. Is that okay with you? So you can give them an option, but you can't just give up your exercise class. You can't do that. And I know how we are. We've always been this way. We were trained as women, I mean all women, I don't mean African American, all women. As women, we're trained to give, and give some more. We have to stop. We have to stop because we have to give to ourselves now. This is 2024. Just do one thing every day to support yourself. Even if it's a 10-minute walk. I used to ask my patients, okay, can you walk for 20 minutes? I didn't have 20 minutes, doc, so I didn't do anything. Okay, then it went to 10 minutes. I didn't have 10 minutes, doc, so I didn't do anything. So now I'm down to 5 minutes. So everybody has 5 minutes, and it can be just a really 5-minute brisk walk around the complex, around the block, around wherever you live. But you gotta do something. Why exercise? This is also important. Because it increases your mood. It increases your temperament. It makes you feel better. It releases your endorphins. It makes your blood pressure go down. It regulates your blood sugar. The drug that they use most for blood sugar is metformin. Exercise mimics metformin in the body. You have to move. You know, forget this inactivity. It's just not working. Forget sitting on the couch munching and snacking and watching, binging on who knows what that's going in your mind. These things are not healthy for you. And again, I'm not judging, everybody has their thing, but I know one thing. My patients who say, I can't afford to do that and have $300 pocketbooks, they can have hypertension in their $300 pocketbook, that I know. And I say that in the book too, because it's real. Where are your priorities? Where are your priorities? Let's turn that around. If you can afford the $300 pocketbook and an organic bushel of kale, great. But if you can't afford the kale because you have a $300 pocketbook, I'm just saying, it's deep to me. I don't know, but I'm different. Anyway, the other thing that's in the book is about meditation. How many of you meditate? Great. It doesn't matter what you do. Meditation is listening to God. Prayer is talking to God. People say, well, my pastor said that meditation is from the devil. I'm not sure what that means, but I always say to them, meditation is not religious. It doesn't have a religious background. It is not a religion. It is you finding out who you are by going inside. That's all it is. Because there's so many distractions out here. Just so many distractions, most of which are negative. So let's find a way to find out what's going inside of you. Because that's really where the answer is, and that's where God is. That's where all it is. I call God all it is, I call God a lot of things. So find out what's happening inside of you, and question the pastor about that comment, if that was true for any of you all, because that's not the God that I know. What I do know is, for example, the news. Take a diet from the news. It's going to be the same news if you watch it on Wednesday, once a week. You're not going to miss anything. Do not watch the news and eat food. It stresses your adrenal glands. Those adrenal glands go berserk, and then your hypertension starts, and then your blood sugar problems start, and your blood starts pumping, and your eyes get big. Whether you know it or not, the news is negative. You know that part, but you don't know what it does to your body. That's in this book too. It'll tell you everything, all the hormones that get released from watching the negativity of the news. And it's worse now than ever. It's worse now than ever. You know, this whole issue, this race, which we are one race, that's in the book as well, we're not different races. They only use the word race in order to maintain and support slavery. There's no anthropological reason to use the word race. None. Absolutely none. So when you see somebody on the street, don't think they're the white race. No, they are the human race. They are your sister or your brother. That's who they are. And I know we're always giving and we're always the ones that forgive, but yeah, because forgiveness is important. Forgiveness is important. Not to forgive hurts you, doesn't hurt them.
Amen.
Not to forgive hurts you. So when you see someone on the street, recognize that, yeah, they may be of a different ethnicity, but they're not a different race. So be mindful of that, because this separation has gone on far too long. And again, the only reason for it was from slavery. So also in the book, I talk about things that I know to be true. And one of the things I know to be true is that we have to love ourselves more. We have to do more for ourselves. We have to challenge ourselves, yes, but we have to do more. So one of the things I say, how can you have more peace? Stop being at war with yourself and others. Now is the moment that never ends. Now is the moment that never ends. Everybody take a deep breath. Just hold it. Okay, very good. How was that? It was hard, but it kept you in the now. It's like, Lord, if she don't tell us to stop, I'm gonna die right now. That's for sure. She better say something up here. Goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. Progression is the expansion of happiness and compassion. Laugh more today than yesterday. Create new experiences. Practice who you want to be and who you are becoming. The fastest way to get what you want is to say no to what you don't want. Those are just a few things that I have in the back about things that I know to be true, things that I've learned over my lifetime. So what I want you to do is sacrifice the negative thoughts, sacrifice the processed food, sacrifice your sitting on the couch, sacrifice your inactivity, sacrifice the ways in which you're not loving yourself, sacrifice all of the things that you think you are that you really aren't, all of the negative things, the things that your parents told you, the things that your sisters and brothers told you. If you're dark-skinned, that you should have been light-skinned. If you're light-skinned, you should have been dark-skinned. I mean, my God, we have more stuff in our community than I don't know who. But let it go. It's not serving you anymore. Give it a break. We're all one people. We're all one race. And if you have those beliefs about yourself, then I encourage you to do something about that. What does that mean? Do something like get therapy. Doesn't mean you're crazy. It means you're a black woman in America who's been racially tormented, sexually tormented probably, and historically tormented. But it doesn't mean you're crazy. You know, in our community, we don't want to get therapy because that means you're crazy. No, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It means you have some issues that need to be addressed in order for you to be well. That's what it means. So sacrifice whatever the negative thoughts are and sacrifice the negative self-talk. And I thank you for listening. God bless us all. I'm going to take some questions because usually there are a lot of them, so I didn't want to talk for